Thank you very much. First of all, I'm very happy and excited to participate in this international and significant conference. And of course, I would like to give a special thanks to the organizers, and in particular to Irina Zuckerman, who invited me. And it's an honor for me to be part of this important event. I come from a background of diversity of ideas. My background is as a lawyer, as an economist, as a public policy maker, but mainly I'm encouraged and my mission in life has been to bring prosperity with my little knowledge to the world. So for me, it's a big celebration to be part of this important conference because I strongly believe that the best way to change the world for the better is through a good market for ideas. And this dialogue actually brings that to the table. So shukran to everybody. Thanks you again. I would like to talk a little bit about what Michel at the end mentioned about his betting. I believe that the Middle East is bringing to surface again the enlightenment. We're in the peak of the iceberg. We have to work a lot to actually bring enlightenment and a Renaissance region that could be a benchmarking for the world. And to bring enlightenment to the region, of course, we need legal reforms in the Middle East. But the three questions that I have to bring to the table is what kind of reforms? What's the mission of them? What's the purpose? What's the point at the end? And I think that the point is prosperity for the region. Prosperity in the extensive sense of the word. Prosperity not only in development instead of growth, prosperity in terms of empowerment of minorities, of all the sectors of society, empowerment of women, of men, of children, empowerment and respect of diversity of opinions, of preferences, of religions, respect and empowerment, of course, and defense of human rights. So how can we become enlightened? What reforms do we need for that purpose? And I want to talk about mainly three things. The first of it has to do with innovation and the market of ideas. Innovation is not invention. Innovation is what brings growth to the region. Bernard Shaw, this famous writer, said, if I have an apple and you have an apple and we exchange apples, you will eat your apple, I will eat my apple, and there won't be apples the next day. However, if I have a good idea and come from a different perspective, and you learn from my idea, and you have a great idea, and I learn from your idea, now I will have two ideas. And from those two ideas, and from many other ideas, instead of a revolution, we'll have an evolution of capital knowledge. That's what innovation is. I'm not talking about revolution, but I'm not talking about revolution, but about evolution. We like to imagine ourselves that we're by ourselves in the middle of nowhere, and then we have a great idea, and it's a disruptive thinking, and the world changes. It doesn't work like that. Prosperity and innovation works with these kind of examples of collective knowledge, of exchange of ideas and respect of diversity. Based on that, the foundation of innovation has to do with three things. The first one has to do with freedom. If you don't have freedom, you won't have innovation. All the startup nations in the Middle East, all what is happening today, that you go to one place to the other and you find this hunger for learning, for changing, for growing, for developing, has to do with freedom. Freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of diversity, freedom of a market, not only of ideas, but in all the senses. Secondly, if freedom is the foundation of innovation, and that's what we can see through history in the Ming of China, in the Meiji of Japan, everywhere, whenever you analyze it, Renaissance and Enlightenment come from freedom. Secondly, what kind of reforms do we need? The reforms have to have three basic principles. First of all, any kind of legal statute, amendment, or mandate has to respect the autonomies and the dignities of each and any of the members of society. It doesn't matter democracy here. I mean, let me elaborate a little bit. If the whole country wants to shut up, to not let talk, to not let survive, to not give rights to one person, that should be forbidden. It doesn't matter what majority decides. There are strongly laws, principles, and values that are universal, that have to respect any minority, any person, in terms of its dignity, of her respect, of her autonomous, about her decisions, about everything she or he needs. First principle, respect to dignity and autonomy of each individual. Second principle, before you do any reform, the second principle has to do now, yes, with democracy. What do we choose as society, as a region? More education or more weapons? This is the typical trade-off of Paul Samuelson, Nobel Prize of Economics. Now we have to decide as a society, what do we want to bring to the floor? Water? Do we want to bring security? Do we want, because there's scarcity of resources. So we really have to have common grounds. But before that, don't forget that there couldn't be any reform that violates the first principle. So once you establish the first principle, democracy, consensus, exchange of ideas, majority of votes have to be welcome. The third principle has to be with efficiency. We not only have to talk about ideas, but we have to bring ideas to action. That's what I like very much about this conference and all the things that I have seen Irina Zuckerman have been working with. Her ideas call to action. And action means efficiency. How to make the same thing with less resources or to do more things with the same ones. I mean, the law, the reform of the law have to bring pragmatism to the table, not over-regulation, not high transactional cost, not reforms that are a burden, even that they have great intentions, they have to be economically efficient. It's where welcome the idea and the tools and the skills of public policy. So at the end, first of all, the father of prosperity is freedom. The father of freedom has to do with empowerment of each of the citizens. The power of empowerment has to do with good reform and good laws and regulations. And I'm not talking about good, I'm talking about optimal. And that means autonomous, dignity and respect, first of all. Secondly, democracy, exchange of diversity, respect to the other. And third, efficiency and pragmatism. I'm very enthusiastic to be part of this meeting. I'm here from Mexico with the willing that whatever I can do, that all the ideas that you bring to the table, call to action, that you can count on me. Again, thank you very much for this honor.